crochet friends, it's me, Jonah, and let's sing your inspirations for sponsoring today's show and tell. I just completed the Bernat Cluster Panels crochet blanket, and it was so much fun to make for a plethora of reasons. Let's start out with how nice and big it is. It's approximately 54 by 63, which of course you can vary on your own, so it's a nice generous blanket. Second, it uses one of my favorite yarns, Bernat Blanket. Oh, that chenille yarn is so plush and cozy. Now the color I used is pale gray, but there's a huge assortment on yourinspirations.com. And my other favorite part is the cluster panels, which is what this blanket's all about. If you take a look right here and I spread it out, you can see how you have these interlocking, flip-flopping clusters or shell stitches with the chain 2. So you have these beautiful panels separated by columns of 5 double crochets each, and that is your whole blanket. And another touch that I added personally was I added some nice fringe that's thick and luscious at the bottom, because it's one of my favorite ways to top off a handmade Afghan. And now if you want to make this blanket, it takes 6 balls of Bernat Blanket. That's the big balls like I just showed you with 220 yards. And you'll also need a 10mm hook or whatever size you need to obtain gauge. And it's not needed, but if you would like to, you can also print out the written pattern, which I'll link to below along with the yarn. And today, I'm going to show you how to work this cluster pattern and a couple tips and tricks for you along the way to get around any obstacles when you're making your blanket. So, let's get started. Now, before I start, I also wanted to point out that with this pattern, you don't have to use Bernat Blanket. You can use any super bulky 6 that you would like. Or you don't even have to use a super bulky 6. You could use a 5, a 4, you could use any yarn. All you need to do is increase your multiples and make your hook size accompanying your yarn. For example, for this demonstration, I'm using Peyton's Inspired, which recommends a 6mm hook, so that is what I am using. So as you can see here, I've worked up 2 multiples of the cluster panels, and you start with double crochets on the side. And now you may see that I have no holes and I have a relatively straight edge for not adding a border, and that's because I use a standing single crochet. Not a single crochet join, it's where you work 2 single crochets practically on top of each other at the same time to work up to the height for your next row. And what I mean by that is you insert your hook into the first stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, insert. Under the left leg of that post right here, yarn right underneath that left leg, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And now you've achieved the height of a double crochet, and it looks kind of similar to a double crochet as you can see down here, but it's a lot wider. So you're going to yarn over, and in your next 3 stitches, work a double crochet, 2, and 3. And now you're going to work 5 double crochets or a shell after in your first double crochet. So you're going to skip your chain 2, work 5 double crochets into the first double crochet of the shell, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to chain 2, skip 4 double crochets or the rest of the shell stitch, and work 5 double crochets as you would for all of your middle panels. 2, 3, 4, 5. So now you're going to skip your chain 2, work 5 double crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to chain 2, skip the rest of your shell or 4 double crochets, and double crochet in the next 3 stitches. And don't go in the last one until I make my last 2. So you're going to yarn over and going underneath these top 2 loops, not these on the side, right here through the top, pull up and work a double crochet, and that's how you have no gap, but a relatively straight edge. So now you're going to turn your work and repeat that row once again. Start by making your standing single crochet, 3 double crochets, 3, skip 2, work a shell, or 5 double crochets, 5, work 2 chains, work 5 double crochets over your next panel, skipping the rest of your shell as always, 3, 4, and 5. And then you're going to skip your 2 chains, work a shell, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain up 2, and work 4 double crochets to finish off this second row. And that's the repeat for your entire blanket. It's really that simple. It looks a lot more complicated than it is with the staggered scallops and everything else included in this pattern, but that's it. Now, I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to flip my work. And if you lay 5, you can see all the different aspects. You have your center panels, and just a heads up, there's 2 side panels. Of course, you'll have a lot more panels when you're making your actual blanket, but your 2 side panels will have 4 stitches each, but then all of your middle double crochet panels will have 5. It's kind of like half almost, except it's a little bigger than half on the sides, so that way you can add a border and it'll be equal. And then you start off with single crochet at the bottom. So in crochet, you want everything to be symmetrical in most cases for a blanket. So that would then mean we're gonna have to end with single crochet. So the way we're gonna do that is start by chaining up 1, which I've already done here. Single crochet in my first 4 stitches, just normally, don't do anything special or fancy. And then in my next chain 2 gap, I'm gonna work 2 single crochets. And then over the shell of 5 double crochets, I'm going to work 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then over these 5 double crochets, I'm going to work 5 double crochets. 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to work 2 single crochets in my chain 2 space. 5. And then finish off the row. And 5. And then my last 4 stitches. So I'm only going to do 3 because I want to work a border down the side. So what I would do for that is in my last stitch, I'm going to under both loops of that standing single crochet, work 3 single crochets. And then in the side of each row, work 2 single crochets. So under this next half of this row, I'll just go under both loops from the side and single crochet. And now the next end of the row is an actual double crochet. So I'll just go under the first half and work an SC. Second half, work another single crochet. And then in the first half of the next row, work 1, and then 2, and then go down and continue on to the next row, making 2 single crochets in each side. And this is something you can do if you choose to do the standing single crochet, because then you'll have an even cleaner edge. Or if you choose to do the chain 3 or the chain 2, or however you traditionally do your double crochet turning chain. Or you can just leave it plain with the traditional way, or you can use this way of your standing single crochets. But I just like what a clean look it gives, and I really think it finishes off your project nicely. So there you have it. That's how you work the cluster panel. And a couple more tips. I like to always end on a row where the right side is facing. So as you can see, I have my right side of my single crochet showing here, and the right side showing here. So end your pattern right like this. Stop doing it on the wrong side, and then flip it over and work your single crochets on the right side. So that way everything has the right side facing, and it's as pretty as possible. And also, when you do fringe, I don't recommend you do fringe in every single stitch. The way I did it is I took 6 strands of Bernat Blanket when I was making my big blanket with that super bulky 6, and put 1 in between each of the cluster panels, like right here in between each of the cluster panels, and then 1 in each of the double crochet panels. So right here, I'd have a total of 5 really big tassels, and since they're so thick and luscious, they all combine to make a really nice, cozy fringe that I think is the perfect way to finish off a nice blanket. And another thing is, some people don't like blankets that have holes in them, but I think it's worth it for this blanket because of how pretty it is and how versatile it is. Like during the summer months, you might want a lighter weight blanket that's a little more breathable. So this is the perfect blanket for that, especially since summer is right around the corner and spring is already here. And that is a few tips and tricks to help you on your way in making your Bernat Clusters panel crochet blanket. If you love today's show and tell on this awesome home style handmade blanket, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. And of course, comment and subscribe to Jonah's Hands and Yarn Inspirations for more show and tells. And please have a wonderful rest of your day and crochet away, friends.